Hold on for 1 second. All right, let's see if that works. Mic check, mic check. I know y'all can hear me on the other side. All right, so YouTube, I need y'all help because I'm watching it now, but I don't think I can hear myself. All right, hold on. Let me oh, there we go. All right, so y'all good, y'all good. All right, back to live action, back to live action. Welcome to the AshCast. You know what? Let me just so that I get a clean recording. I'm actually gonna stop this. Welcome, 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 welcome to another awesome episode of the AshCast Show. Every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you go to the ashcastshow.com to subscribe to the podcast. Go to ashcasttv.com to watch us live every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Salute to everybody who's rocking with me. I really appreciate y'all. Y'all don't, understand how much I appreciate this. Because when I think about how this started, right? So this started about 6 weeks ago, where we were going through what we were going through, COVID-19. Prior to the civil unrest, prior to protests, prior to everything that we're going through now. And in my mind, I knew that I wasn't at a space in 2008 during that recession, to really lend a voice. But now having a larger voice, having a larger presence, I felt like it was my duty to be able to lend that voice to those who needed financial motivation. That's why they call me the financial motivator. And so it literally, this started out as a live. I was just going on, Instagram live every day. Every day was just going on Instagram live, just being available, right? Being available to people. And then eventually it started to, it felt good. People were asking for more. And so I wanted to kind of formalize it. And that's how the AshCast show started, where, it was like, all right, what way can we consistently be in people's lives and give them what they need? And so this is how this started. And since it started, there's been a lot of, nothing but love. I truly, like, y'all don't even understand. I dream about, waking up, figuring out what we're going to talk about next. So I truly appreciate y'all. Fast shout to Live Victoriously. They sponsored the show today. So, fast shout to the Live Victorious hat. Don't live in fear, live victorious. And so if you go to their Instagram page, Live Victorious _, definitely support them. Definitely support what they're doing. Black-owned business. So if you want to support a black-owned business, definitely, salute to my guys over at Live Victorious. And so today, I want to jump in the news. There's a lot to cover. First we're going to talk about, as the format, we'll talk about what's in the news first. And then after the news, I'll open it up for any questions. Fast shout to my brother, Martin Baez. He asked a question yesterday that I actually didn't get a chance to answer. So I do want to answer that question because I think it's important, for that question to be answered. So I will be addressing his answer or his question today. And salute to everybody, right? Cassandra Poe says, good morning. I'm always sharing on my page. So thank you so much, right, for everybody who's been sharing this, who's been passing this along. If you're watching on YouTube, please continue to share it. Have people, join. Spread the word. If you're watching it on Facebook, if you're watching it on Twitter, if you're watching it on Twitch, please share. Have everybody go to ashcasttv.com to subscribe. I have a great podcast coming out. So every Saturday, there's a special, podcast that drops. And so yesterday, or I forget when I did the interview, but it's dropping on Saturday. I had a conversation with Mark Bloom. Ebony Janice, what's up? We love you too. I appreciate you. Thank you for the love. I've been sharing with my EYL folks. Salute, MJ the Soul. And so, I had a conversation with one of my friends, Mark Bloom, who's actually a Jewish guy, who I've had on my, so if y'all know, I had a radio show in New York back in, started 2015 for about 4 years, called the AshCast Show every Friday on WACR 90.3 FM. And so Mark has been, a guest of mine numerous times. If you type in Ash Cash and Mark Bloom, you'll see, some of the conversations that I've had with him. But he's a Jewish guy who owns a company called Net Worth Realty. And because we had the conversation with Matt Garland, about the, real estate and the state of real estate, I wanted to have that conversation as well with somebody who focuses on real estate, residential real estate as a way to build wealth. So definitely that episode is dropping tomorrow. So definitely check out that episode. Super duper dope. We actually do talk about race relations as well. So as a white man, and me as a black man having that conversation. So y'all don't want to miss that. I think it was a good conversation, healthy conversation. So make sure you're subscribing to the podcast, the ashcastshow.com, to catch that. It'll also be out later on ashcasttv.com. So subscribe there. All right, so let's start with the financial news. We'll start with the markets as of close of business yesterday, or close of markets. NASDAQ was down 0.69%. S&P 500 was down 0.34%. Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 0.05%. Gold was up 0.91%. 10-year Treasury was up 8.3 bips, and then oil was up 0.19%. Jobless claims came out yesterday, and it was higher than what people expected. Nearly 1.9 million Americans filed for unemployment benefits last week, and that's high. But definitely, it's been showing for 9 straight weeks. Initial job claims have started to decline. The labor market is expected to rebound, slowly. Speaking of the market, so Dow futures rise 260 points ahead of the week's final test for the stock market. And so U.S. stock index futures pointed to solid gains Friday as investors look to labor market report that could reflect soaring unemployment, even as the data signals a declining pace of job loss in corona-stricken America. And so again, the job loss was at 1.9 million, which is, worse than what people expected, because, the country was, slowly opening back up. And so those numbers are worse than what people expected. Economists say that they thought it was going to be like 1.7, but 1.8 is the number. And so, when you think about everybody who's filing for unemployment and who don't have jobs right now, it's definitely a time that we want to be diligent. You want to kind of stay focused on watching what the economy is doing, but also kind of not waiting just for a job, but figuring out what other ways you can create your own economy as well. So stay focused on there. In other news, as we we know about the civil unrest that's happening, the protests. Trump tweets a letter calling protesters terrorists. And so President Donald Trump tweeted out a letter on Thursday that referred to a group of protesters as terrorists following their violent ouster from a park near the White House earlier this week. The letter is signed by Trump's former lawyer, John Doyd, and addressed to Jim, in probable reference to former Defense Secretary Jim Mathis. It talks about the former Pentagon chief after he called out Trump on Wednesday for threatened military response to protests that have engulfed cities across the country. In his letter, Dow referred to a group of protesters who were violently forced out of Washington Lafayette Square Park on Monday as terrorists using idle hate to burn and destroy. And so definitely a dangerous time when you have your the president of the United States, who is dividing the country. I saw a video, and I try. So here's what I try to do. I try to stay neutral and give you both sides. I also try to understand both sides. So I look at sort of like conservative, liberal, everything, right? I kind of look at everything, which I'll be honest with y'all, and that's how y'all know I love y'all, because for a long time, I created my own world, even within living in this world, I created my own world, and I protected my energy, and I protected myself. But now, because, every day, I'm waking up. That's why I salute to social workers, salute to people on the ground, salute to protesters, salute to everybody who's doing the actual work. Because, even, as somebody a financial journalist, let's say, I have to be informed. So if I'm going to tell y'all about something, I want to, give it from both sides. And it's hard to protect your energy that way when you feel a kind of way about certain things. So it's been tough trying to, keep my energy balanced, you know what I'm saying? And so, I love y'all. I'll just say that. But I saw this video of I don't know if you want to call them white supremacists or whatever the case may be, just really saying yo, we waiting. While y'all out there protesting, we got our guns, you know what I'm saying, waiting for that tweet, from the president saying, yo, all right, it's time, right? And so it feel like, if y'all ever paid attention to, civil, history class, you need to understand that there's a Second Amendment right for a reason, right? And the Second Amendment right talks about the right to bear arms. And while, protesting, there's been people within the protest that muddied the things up. But I will say that when you look at history, the reason why there was a civil war, right? And I'm not, y'all know me, I'm not trying to put fear in anybody or anything like that. But the reason why there was a civil war was because there was division in the country, right? There was division in the country, right? And so when you think about that, all I'm saying is, number one, I think it's great for us to, depend on, or I don't think it's great. Let me take that back. I think that people who are being paid by our tax dollars, right, to do, to protect us, the people who are paying their tax dollars in American citizens, right? Not property first, then citizens later, but American citizens. I think they need to do their job. But at the same time, the onus to protect your family and yourself should not be given to people who in the past have shown that they, may not have your best interest at heart. So I'm saying all that to say is that in the midst of all of this, just make sure you are, however way you do it. I'm not, again, I'm not, I know I mentioned Second Amendment right. I'm not saying everybody go get guns or whatever, but I am saying, to just be ready, right? And don't put past what evil people will look at as an opportunity to be patriotic, because a lot of the things that were done, the bloodshed, if you look at history, were done in the name of the country, in the name of being patriotic. You know what I'm saying? And so just, stay ready. That's all. Like Grace the DJ, right? Stay ready. And so, I just wanted to kind of bring that up because I think it's dangerous, even as we talk about, Trump saying stuff like that, right? Saying that they're like the rhetoric that's being used can really incite people who are wanting to do harm. And so I just stay woke. And speaking of doing harm, speaking of protesting, according to CNN, over 1,000 corona deaths have been reported in the past 24 hours. Officials fear that protests will drive up those numbers. So despite the sudden shift after weeks of social distancing, coronavirus is still spreading. So far this week, 4,430 people have been reported dead since Sunday. Of those, 1,036 deaths were reported in the past 24 hours. So by late Thursday, the virus had killed more than 108,000 people in the United States and infected at least 1.8 million, according to John Hopkins University. And so I think that, it's important that we, stay diligent, right? Like I see a lot of my friends on the front line wearing masks and things of that nature. But if you are, if you are high risk in any way, right? If you got diabetes, if you got heart problems, if you had a stroke before, I don't care. You could be 15, right? If you have any underlying conditions, you should not be out there, right? You should not be out there. There's other ways that you could, show your support. And I just employ everybody to be safe. If you are out there, right, vitamin D is good, right? So if you are out protesting, vitamin D is good. Get that sun. But also, make sure you start, make sure you run, make sure you do some jumping jacks, make sure you're taking your black seed oil, make sure you are, just keeping yourself healthy. Go to the health food store and get your sea moss, right? Drink a lot of water. Just make sure you're being healthy. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, if you don't have anything to die for, then you don't, you're not fit to live. In the words of Martin Luther King. But you also, want to be safe as well. So, definitely just take precautions as you're going out there because, like the report is saying, 1,000, deaths in the last 24 hours. So in other news, in hip hop news, out with their highest paid celebrity list. And so they just dropped their list recently. Kanye West, Jay-Z, and Drake represent hip hop on the Forbes 2020 highest paid celebrities list. And so according to the list, Kanye West has settled at top 5 with making $170 million, trailing behind his sister-in-law Kylie Jenner, who pulled in $590 million, making her the top earner. Meanwhile, when we look at other, hip hop royalties, so the first hip hop billionaire, Jay-Z, made $53.5 million, and that landed him in the number 42 spot, according to Forbes. Some honorable mentions. So Post Malone made $60 million. He was at number 28. Diddy $55 million, number 37. Drake at $49 million, at number 49. Rihanna made $46 million. She's at number 60. Will Smith $44.5 million. That's number 69. Travis Scott $39.5 million. So he's at number 82. And DJ Khaled, Khaled rounded out the hip hop list, making $36.5 million, landing him in the 95th spot. As we know that Kanye made headlines recently because he was sort of like beefing with Forbes because they wasn't recognizing him, as a billionaire. And so he gave them his financial records, and they determined that his net worth is around $1.3 billion, even though, Kanye is saying that's still not true. That he's saying that his net worth is $3.3 billion. So he's saying that they're shorting him. But one thing that I saw yesterday that's not really making the news as much is that Kanye has arranged for a $2 million donation to the families and legal endeavors of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor, which I think is awesome. And matter of fact, happy birthday, Breonna Taylor, because Breonna would have turned 27 today. So today is her birthday, and she would have been 27 today. So happy birthday, baby girl. And so $2 million have been, according to TMZ, donated by Kanye West. He actually reportedly set up a 529 college savings plan to fully fund George Floyd's 6-year-old daughter's, Gianna's, tuition when she grows up. And then, additionally, Ye said, they're saying that Kanye has also donated to multiple black-owned businesses in Chicago, his hometown, and he plans to continue to do that throughout 2020. So I think that was good, honorable mention. Also, Jay-Z let Ahmaud Arbery's lawyer use his private jet to make a court hearing. And so, Esley Merritt, who's the civil rights lawyer representing Ahmaud Arbery and his family, was expected to be in court yesterday, June 4th. And to make it on time, Jay-Z sent his private jet to scoop Merritt up and giving him, getting him to the Glenn County Magistrate Court. Merritt revealed that Hov's generous gesture, he did it on an Instagram post where he said, when you absolutely have to be in court to stand with your client and righteous protesters for justice, Jay-Z sends his private jet. That part of the PPE plan to get us out of this crisis, right? People, power, political power, economic plan. So PPPE plan. So salute to him. I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna jump into these questions in a second, but I did want to mention something because I see that a lot. There is a lot going on with the Say Her Name movement, right? And I think that's important to talk about, because I feel like, number one, when we say Black Lives Matter. And then we go back and forth between the All Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of talk about, does all Black Lives matter, or is it just some Black lives that matter? And I wanted to bring this up, especially as a Black man. I do notice, right, anytime that there is protest, there's always a lot of outrage, as there should be, right, for the injustice that happened with Black men. But I don't believe that there's the same type of energy given towards Black women, and that's the only reason why I wanted to point this out. Not in a divisive way, because I also believe that history has shown that when the movement is catching momentum, there's always these things that divide us and separate us, and then that's part of a plan, right, to divide and conquer. And so outside forces also play a part in that, but we also have to look within, right? We also have to look within and play, and take responsibility for the part that we play, right? And so you have, Pamela Turner, who was murdered May 13th, 2019. You have Sandra Bland, police brutality, murdered July 13th, 2015. Breonna Taylor, right? We talk about her March 13th, 2020. Happy birthday. You have Corinne Gaines, right? Another tragedy that happened in the hands of the police, August 1st, 2016. Atiana Jefferson, October 12th, 2019. Chantel Davis, June 14th, 2012. Say their names, right? And so we have to be clear that there's always going to be, a divide and conquer kind of mentality going on. But we also have to be, we also have to really kind of look at ourselves, right, as it relates to, look at the injustices that are happening. And so also, as a straight Black man, I also want to shine a light on what's happening to Black transgender, right? Because I saw this, and it was disturbing because y'all know that I say this, right? I never watch videos because of what it does to my spirit, right? Like violent videos. And so I kept seeing the name Ayanna Dior, right? I kept seeing that name, say her name. I kept seeing that on my timeline. And so I was like, man, like, who is this Ayanna Dior, right? And so I started to look into it. And fat shout to my homie Joan Morgan. And she said, you cannot be selective in your fight for Black liberation. You cannot decide that some Black lives don't matter. You cannot fight for Black men and marginalize Black, queer, trans, and cis women. You cannot weep for George Floyd and ignore videos of Ayanna Dior, a Black trans woman being hunted and beaten viciously and publicly by Black men. Ayanna Dior, do more than say her name. Fight for her. Fight for us. Black Women Matter. And I looked at the video, and it's hard to look at, right? It's hard to look at because, like, literally, you got men, like, I'm talking about beating her viciously, right? And I don't know the reason for it, but to have a group of people like that it was disgusting to watch. You know what I'm saying? And so when we say, again, we have to look within, right? And so with saying Black Lives Matter, it can't only matter. And again, y'all know me, so y'all know I'm not one of those guys that are like, well, it's police brutality. Well, what about black and black crime? White people kill white people in proximity and all that. Like, I'm not one of those guys, so I'm not going to have that conversation, not on this platform, and not at all, actually, because I believe that, we have to be held accountable, right? And there are, as they say, not, all your skin folk and your kinfolk, right? Just because somebody has the same color doesn't mean they're fighting for the same mission. And that's why, race always gets muddied, right? Because if you're saying, because I'm black, we're fighting for this, but then there are black people who are doing things that, I wouldn't agree with, other people wouldn't agree with, but then because of their color of skin, you know what I mean? Like, it gets muddied, right? It gets muddied. And so it's important, though, that if we're going to say all Black Lives Matter, then all Black lives have to matter, right? We can't pick and choose and say, you know what, just straight black men lives matter. That's it. We're gonna fight for that. We're not gonna fight for black women. We're not gonna fight for transgender women. We're not gonna fight, and I don't know the terminology, so I don't know like what, and maybe I should, maybe I should learn the terminology, so I don't know what a cis woman is. And I like I've heard, other descriptions, and so I'm just thinking it's a straight black man. That's what I know myself to be, and so I don't know the terminology. But regardless of it, I think that human life matters, right? And I think that when we look at the savagery of that, let's just be clear, right? Let's be clear what we're fighting for, right? Let's be clear, what we're fighting for, and I think that yes, we're shining a light on Black lives, on George Floyd, but then also let's look within ourselves, and then also taking responsibility, right? When we're not doing what's right, are we taking responsibility to check our brothers and sisters and letting them know what they're doing is not right, opposed to allowing outside forces to do it, right, before the riots, right? So when you think about what's happening, how vocal are we to make sure that the things that we don't want to see in our community are not happening. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of say that as we go into the questions. I appreciate y'all for always rocking with me. I love y'all. Thank y'all so much. I want to go into the questions that you guys asked. So if you have any questions, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Twitter, Twitch, make sure that you put your comments in the bottom. If you're watching on Instagram, if you're watching on IG Live, make sure that you put your questions in the comment. So let me see. Nadia says cis woman equals biological woman that identifies as a woman. All right, so if you're born a woman and you identify as a woman, then you're a cis woman. All right. So cis woman is a biological woman that identifies as a woman. Cuzzo, what's up, Cuzzo? All right, so I'm going to let me go to the questions. So I do want to so yesterday we had some questions, and so my brother Martin Baez, that's my brother from St. Nicholas Project. My brother. So let me just answer this real quick. So same person, Inside Out says, so how is cis trans? I don't think cis is trans. I think cis woman is a straight, is a born woman. I don't know, but I'll let somebody else in there. How do you see society lives changing due to unified protests? I'll answer that in a second. So I do, Ill Flow, what up, my G? What's good? All right, so I want to answer a question from Martin Baez, because Martin Baez is my brother from St. Nicholas Projects, always on the front line, doing the work, for those who are disabled, for those who are, underrepresented. And so I'm going to a question that he asked yesterday that I didn't get a chance to answer. So my guy Martin Baez says, Brother Cash, I have a question for you. What advice would you give someone on food stamps, SSI, SSD, right, or work part-time and want financial freedom? What guidance would you give them, and is it possible to really build wealth with low income? I love that question because I get that question a lot, where not now, right, but after I left banking, I started working as a financial coach in the Millbrook houses in the Bronx, which was one of the poorest congressional districts in the country. And so it was in the projects. There was a lot of people who were getting, people were asking, so the goal of the program was to help people find jobs, right? People who are disability, people who are SSI, things of that nature. It was to help them find jobs. And so we would get that question all the time, where literally because a lot of people who were on public assistance did not understand how the system worked. Literally they would be afraid to to start a business or to do anything because they thought that it would affect how they would if they would be able to get out of poverty, right? And so I love the question because it's a matter of understanding how things work, and understanding the laws and understanding how you can protect yourself. And so I talked about this before in the show, how creating a family office, and I know that that's like a big term, like a big thing, right? Like creating a family office, which is normally done by those who have wealth, who have at least $100 million in net worth, right? And because they have $100 million in net worth, they create what's called a family office, where their assets are not owned by them. Their assets are actually put into a family office, like an LLC, that's not public facing, and then they live their lives through that LLC or trust or whatever, and then by living their lives through that, personally, they don't own anything. Because they don't own anything, I've even seen stories like if you Google or if you go to YouTube and you type in wealthy family on welfare, something like that. I think it was CBS. It might have been CBS, but I think that CBS did a documentary, or 60 Minutes did like an expose of a couple that got food stamps but lived in a mansion, like lived in a $1 million estate, but they still received food stamps. And the question was, how did they receive food stamps? Like, how they are multimillionaires and they receive food stamps? And the reason why they were able to receive food stamps was because they personally didn't own any assets. And so because they didn't own any assets, they were able to live, right, abundantly, live in a space where they lived in a multi-million-dollar house, they vacation, whatever. But then personally, they didn't own any assets, and because they didn't own any assets, they still qualified for public assistance, and that's the loophole in a way. And so to that question, right, to the question that my guy Martin Baez asked about, how would someone who on food stamps, SSI, SSD, or work part-time, and they want financial freedom, what guidance would you give them? And is it possible to create financial freedom when you live low income? Absolutely. And what happens is this. I think that the goal is to understand the system and to set up the system to work in your favor. A lot of the only difference between what wealthy people do and what people who are not wealthy do is it's the knowledge and the implementation of that knowledge. There's one thing for me to tell y'all, listen, this is how you should set up your life. But there's another thing that you start to implement it. If you start to say, well, that doesn't fit me or whatever, then it's really, you're not able to, understand how the system works, right? So Mac Mac J. Fitz says, same way their children were able to get an insane amount of scholarship money for college. Exactly, right? Because again, if you hide your assets, or not even hide it because it's in plain sight, but if you put your, if you put your assets in an LLC or a family office, then that allows you to personally qualify for things. So I would say to that question is, number one, understand, like, I think reading is fundamental. I think understanding how money works is very, very important. I was low income at one time, right? And in order for me to get out of that, I had to understand, what were my options, right? What, was it working a 9 to 5? Was it working, was it getting, starting a business or whatever the case may be? And so for me, I chose the route to work a 9 to 5. But then as I worked a 9 to 5 and started studying, my craft and working my way out, I was able to be able to now get to a space where I can get out of this low income status, now make some money, still live low income though, right? So as I was working, in the country, or as I was working as a as a 9 to 5 worker, I still lived in the projects for a good amount of time until, I moved out, met my wife. We wound up buying a house together at 25. And then that started the trajectory of flipping it from low income to becoming a homeowner, to becoming a business owner. So it was a progress, right? And so I think that the important thing, if you're a low income, if you're on public assistance, if you have SSI, whatever the case may be, is the plan first, right? You're not going to change that situation. You're not going to create financial freedom if you do not have a plan, right? So even at this stage of my life, in this stage of my career, in this stage of my family wealth, there's another step that my family and I are looking to take, and we have a plan for it. Right. So like we're looking from being in one income bracket to go to the next income bracket. And in order for us to do that, we have to have a plan. And so we work diligently. Right. We work diligently. Myself, my wife, my daughter. Right. My son is still too young, but he's involved. Right. But we're working diligently on, figuring out how do we, go from one bracket to the next bracket. But it starts with the plan, right? And number one, it starts with the plan, but then number two, it starts with visualizing yourself and really being in the plan prior to you achieving it. And so, for privacy reasons, I won't tell you what our, family plan is, but I will say that I believe that as a family unit, we're feeling the energy of achieving that plan prior to us actually achieving it. And that's important, right? And so if you're low income, have a plan, number one. Number two, believe that it's possible, because having a plan and not having the belief that it is actually actually attainable, you're not going to attain it, because you get what you believe. And so if you believe that you're stuck, then you're stuck. If you believe that you're rich, then you're rich. And that's a fact. I'm not using hyperbole. I'm not trying to exaggerate. I was able to get out of my situation before even getting out of that situation, right? There was a lot of times where I might have had negative money in my bank account, but still felt rich. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't focus on being overdrawn. I focused on, the possibilities, and then focusing on the possibilities, I was able, to get to a space of abundance, right? And it's okay though, right? Like, it's okay to have those moments of feeling defeated or feeling whatever. It's okay. Just don't stay there, right? Make sure that that your normal mode of operation is that of abundance, and you have to get there in your mind first, right? You have to get there in your mind first before you actually get there in the physical. So like yesterday, I think I wrote a quote that said, be an energetic match, right, for what you want to manifest, right? And I'm saying there's no exception, right? There's no exception to that universal law. If you want to be rich, then you have to feel rich. If you want freedom, then you have to feel free. If you want love, then you have to feel love. No matter what you want to manifest, it is imperative that you feel it and exude it in your energy so that it can be real, right? And so, that's the second part of it. The second part is that if you have the plan, right, now you have to feel it before you get it. I don't know what you got to do, because what it's going to be different for different people. Because I know that at times, looking at a vision board empowers me, but sometimes it frustrates me, right? At times, reading my affirmations empowers me, and sometimes it frustrates me, right? And so I'm saying that don't take this cookie cutter way and saying that, yo, this is the way that works, so I'm going to force myself to work it that way. No, don't do that. Whatever works for you, works for you. Since COVID-19, and I'm going to be 100% honest, right? Since COVID-19, I have not read any of my affirmations. So I have affirmations that pop up on my timeline, on my phone every morning at 4 a.m. And I have not read them because I tried to read them and they don't feel good, right? And the reason why they don't feel good, because a lot of my affirmations are material, right? I'll be honest with you, right? So I have a lot of material things that I want to accomplish. That's on my affirmations. And because of COVID-19, because of people dying around me, because of, everything, right? The civil unrest, everything that's happening, I don't feel that my energy is best used asking God, asking the universe for material things, right? And so that's when I switched. That's why I'm doing lives every day, right? That's why I'm, coming on live, because that feels good to me. That feels like a better use of my energy. That feels good, like a better use of what I'm asking the universe for. Because right now I'm asking the universe to use me, right, as a vessel to empower and to motivate people financially so they could create their own economy. That's what I'm asking for. And so because I'm asking for that, I'm asking for the energy to be focused on that so I could be my best self. And I don't want to detract from that by reading my affirmations. Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing that up because what feels good to me is not going to feel good to you. There are a lot of people who are using affirmations right now that they're loving their affirmations and it's helping them get to that next level. There's other people who are watching, or looking at their vision board and saying, yo, my vision board is helping me, and that's helping them, right? But you got to do what's good for you. I know people who again, use vision boards, use motivational stuff, use other people's demise, right? There's so many different ways to feel. However it works for you is what I'm saying. However it works for you to get into a space of abundance, that's what you have to do. If it means unplugging from social media, then do that. There was a time where I stopped following certain people. Because my peers, right? There was time. It wasn't about a jealousy thing, but it was because, I was looking at their journey and I was like, man, why my journey is taking long and why I can't do that or whatever. And so I had to unfollow a bunch of my peers. But then when I got to a space where I finally was like, all right, now I got my stride, I was able to, really rock with them and now congratulate them. And so all of that energy worked in my favor is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that, to your question, Martin, number one, you have to be able to, create a plan to get out. Number two, you have to feel your plan. You have to feel the energy of your plan in order to manifest it. It's not going to manifest if you don't feel it. The moment you start to detract from it, it's not going to happen. And then now once you feel it, now go to work, right? Now you go to work. And when I say go to work, it's still mindset work. Right? It's still work of thinking about what you want and feeling about it. But then number two, it's actually doing the steps that you laid out in your plan. And that's one of the other reasons why I was like, you know what? I don't even need, my affirmations right now, because at the end of the day, right, my plan and what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis is actually going to lead me to my affirmations anyway. And so why do I need to remind myself when I'm actually doing the work? And so then you have to do the work. As it relates to Social Security, SSI, disability, all that stuff, if it is an issue, right? If there's an issue with you, having an idea and wanting to build wealth, and you have the idea, you have the plan, and you know that as you transition, you don't want to lose your benefits, then I would say that your first part of that plan is to save up money. right? Create something, save up money, so you could hire an attorney and you hire a CPA. And when you hire an attorney, hire a CPA, have them create you an LLC that you control. Back to what we were saying before. Own nothing, control everything. Create an LLC that you control, that is not in your name personally, so that way you still qualify for your benefits while building your business. And my hopes are that as you build your business to become self-sustainable, you then understand that now you don't need the Social Security or the disability or whatever, and then, relinquish it. But that's your business. You could do whatever you do. But I would say that if you are at that space, right, you are, and this is for anybody who's low income, right, and you want to start building wealth, create the plan first. Understand, how wealth works. And I, my wife and I are working on a book, on a guide. It's a small book. It's an ebook, on a guide that's going to help people create that family wealth. Because I hear the term generational wealth, spread all the time. And so I want people to get to that space where they understand how to actually build it. And we're going to talk about trust. We're going to talk about family office. We're going to talk about life insurance, all of that good stuff. So stay tuned. I'll drop the name of the book and all that stuff when it's ready. So it should be ready soon. All right, cool. So, Keisha Marie Hamilton says, can you do those things through Score? I've used Score before. Score will, I don't know if they would, I don't know if they would help you, create a family office and all that stuff, because that's something that you need an attorney for, actually, right? So a CPA is going to help you, with the tax implications of it. But then definitely an attorney is the one that's going to help you create it so that it's legally binding, because that's what's most important. And so that's why I wouldn't cut corners as it relates to this, because when you are cutting corners, you might not get the protection that you want. So I would actually hire an attorney that does this. An estate attorney, a family law attorney, I would hire an attorney to do it. And I would not cut corners on it whatsoever. Like, I would literally make sure that the attorney helps you put these things together. One question says, how do you decide what business to focus on when you have more than one strength? I think allow your intuition, your guide, to guide you into it. There are a lot of things that I want to do. I have more than one strength. I have more than one power. But what I do is I allow my intuition, my gut, to tell me what I should be focusing on now. And based on that, like, I would literally, I've done it though. I've literally scrapped projects that I put a lot of time and effort into a project that just makes the most sense. Right. And so, this whole generational wealth, building a business, life insurance makes sense. And so that's why I've pivoted, towards that. Right. Giving information makes sense. So a lot of the stuff that I had 3 books that was supposed to come out this year that, I pivoted. You know what I mean? So, that's how I would say you do it. Salute on the check-in, my guy, Andre Hatchett. Salute to my guy, on the check-in, Aline, the sis. Good morning, Leslie Moore. Good morning. PK Dixon, I see you. Appreciate you for tuning in. She says, be sure to have the FU money. I learned that from you, right? Having that FU money, right? Being able to walk away. You got to make sure you have that FU money. All right, let me jump in, ask some other questions. So official Tenzi says, what microphone is this? So I'm using a Rode mic, RODE. I'm using a Rode. It's called the Rode Podcaster. So if you look it up on Amazon, I should have a affiliate link. But if you look on Amazon, I bought it from Amazon. But if you look on Amazon and you look under Rode, RODE, Rode Podcaster is the mic that I'm using. I also have a Sennheiser headset. This works really well. I use that the Sennheiser for my like Zooms and stuff like that. If I need to hear people. So because this is just one way where I'm just kind of projecting out, I don't need to hear anything. So that's why I have the Rode Podcaster. Let's see. What is one book that you highly recommend for a teenager? God Bless 35 says, what is one book that you highly recommend for a teenager? I'm going to say two of them. I'm going to say Think and Grow Rich. Oh, I'm going to say three, actually. I'm going to say Think and Grow Rich. I'm going to say Richest Man in Babylon. And I'm going to say, man, I got four, actually. I'm sorry. I got four. I'm going to say Think and Grow Rich. I'm going to say Richest Man in Babylon. I'm going to say The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And I'm going to say Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. The reason why I'm going specifically to those books and not like books written for teenagers, because I think that we are definitely smarter, right? Meaning teenagers are definitely smarter. So there's no reason why we should dumb things down. Kish Ravlin says Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think it's a dope book, but I have some issues with the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's why I didn't recommend it. I think it's a good book. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Everything that Robert Kiyosaki says is dope. But when I think about our community, yeah, I'll just leave it there. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't recommend it. When people ask me that question, I would rather recommend Mind Right, Money Right, 10 Laws of Financial Freedom. But Richest Man in Babylon is definitely a dope book. Right? No, that's a fact though too. I forgot about. See, I don't like the self. I mean, not that I don't like it, but I try to be objective, and so Mo Wine For You said they should read 444, right? The Wake Up Call by Ash Cash. That's true too, right? So that's another book that I think is a teenager would definitely benefit from, is The Wake Up Call, because I relate music to hip hop, and then even Hustlenomics is definitely something that a teenager would appreciate. So yeah, definitely The Wake Up Call and Hustlenomics. MJ the Soul says just bought that for my 14-year-old. So yeah, definitely check those books out as well. So I'll throw myself in there. Oh, Jimbo Slice, my guy Jimmy Martinez. That's my brother right there on the check-in. Who Moved My Cheese? That's a good book as well. Fat shout to my guy Jimbo Slice, man. That's my brother. Like, that's my brother. Call me 2 a.m. brother. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so nice, salute. But yeah, Who Moved My Cheese? Who Moved My Cheese was a good book too, especially now, right? Especially in this day and age, as we're dealing with a lot of uncertainties, a lot of change. That's a great book. All right, as you know, Instagram likes to kick me out, and so it's time to say peace. I know that there's other questions. I am so sorry that I didn't get to those questions because I kind of went a little long answering my guy Martin Baez's question, but I thought it was important that everybody needed to hear it, so that's why I went a little long. Please tune in on Monday. I'll answer them. If you want, email me also, info@mindrightmoney.com, if you have questions that I didn't answer, and then I'll answer them on the show. But I love y'all. Make sure y'all have a great weekend. Stay safe, but stay dangerous. Make sure you're tuning into the podcast this Saturday, the ashcashshow.com. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, ashcashtv.com. Make sure you're supporting the show by hitting the support button on the ashcashshow.com. And as I told y'all yesterday, go to shop.mindrightmoney.com. I'm giving 25% off of all of my products and services. Just put in the code MINDRIGHT, and you'll get that. Till next week, I love y'all. Same time, same place. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Peace.